Welcome back to the Energy Fix podcast. Today, we're going to be talking all about sleep. And I want to stress here that this is not the conventional sleep conversation that gets thrown around in holistic or conventional style podcast or conventional style episodes. We're going to be diving deep, and it's why I was so excited to have today's guest on the show. Her and I met in a networking group, in a mastermind group, and I was just blown away, not only by her knowledge and her take on the concept of sleep, but also on her energy and the passion that came out of her when she was talking about why she does what she does and why she's so passionate about this work. We're going to be talking about the kind of sleep issues that show up when you're doing, quote unquote, all the right things, but yet you're still exhausted. And your body still won't let you drop down into a deep sleep. I mean, really, what is going on there, right? The tired but wired nights, the doom scroll bedtime procrastination that so many people fall into, and that 3 a.m. wide-eyed ceiling stare when your brain suddenly wants to just solve every single problem in your entire life. I mean, we've all been there. And outside of the supplements and all of that stuff, yeah, that stuff can be great, but what else could possibly be going on? My guest today is Irina Macare. She's a certified sleep coach who helps busy professionals overcome insomnia and rebuild consistent sleep using simple science-based tools. Her approach blends CBT-I, which, just so you know, it is the gold standard for chronic insomnia. And she blends that with mindfulness, acceptance and commitment therapy, and behavior change coaching. So sleep finally feels like it stops being this checklist and something that you can move a little bit easier through. We're going to talk about stress sleep loop, why effort makes insomnia worse sometimes, but actually regulates the nervous system at night, and also how to rebuild trust when your own sleep feels like it just doesn't want to come easy. All right, Irina, we're going to get into it. Let's dive in. Hi.
Hi, Tenzi, and thank you so much for inviting me to your podcast. And your words were amazing. Like I was having goosebumps when you were talking about like my passion because I've been talking so much about it, but I've never heard reflecting it back this way. So it feels so rewarding to hear that what I'm trying to put out there actually gets it. Like people are actually getting it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, truly, when I talked to you, it was like I knew right away, I'm like, I need to have her on my show because it just exuded out of you. And so I'm so honored to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get into this incredible conversation, I want to know more about you as an individual and where you're at in this season of your life, either personally, professionally, or a mix of both. Is there a word or a phrase that you're really embodying right now?
Well, this is so interesting asking this because for the last 5 years or so, at the beginning of each year, I choose a word that I want to guide me to my behavior. So instead of choosing a goal, I use a word that it's like the North Star. And for me, this year is intentional. And that's because I've been doing this business for some time and I noticed some patterns going on. It is so different to be an entrepreneur versus being in a corporate. And I've noticed that it's easier to hide when things are getting hard. And I also have ADHD and I do a lot of masking. And one of the things that I've noticed doing is that whenever something feels uncomfortable, like I run away and hide. And uncomfortable doesn't mean like a hard work. I'm a hard worker, but it's something that, for example, phone calls terrify me. If I have to make an appointment on a phone call, like no, I will postpone it until the cows come back home. But so this year, I choose to put myself out there to do uncomfortable stuff. And I have to be intentional with that because it's so easy to hide.
Yeah, okay. I need to do a little follow up with this because intentionality. Oh my gosh, you said the phone call thing. I'm like, ugh, that is so hard. I agree with you. ADHD here as well. I get it. So I'm curious with that intentionality and some of these obstacles that you're trying to work through, especially when your brain is pushing you the opposite direction. How do you personally, Irina, find the courage to move forward and just step into that standard?
That's a hard question. To take the example of phone calls, it's not the first time when I'm doing an appointment on the phone call, and I often, after the call is done, it's like, oh, it wasn't so hard. So I'm trying to be present in the moment and to remember that feeling and to tell myself it's not the end of the world. You can do it. I think it goes back to reminding myself of my values and why do I do things. So, for example, in my business, I want to help people, and we haven't talked about this, but like I quit my full-time job. I was an IT engineer for 16 years. I was working on the one of the top five companies, IT companies in the world. So I had like an amazing job, but I was feeling miserable. So I choose to quit my job and my career and become a sleep coach. And I do this because I love I love sleep, I love science, and I love helping people. So when it comes to my business and doing hard things, for example, marketing, selling, like we have to do this in our business. I remind myself that there are so many people out there that are struggling with sleep, and I've been in their shoes and I know how hard it is. I have the skill and the capacity to help them. And if I'm not doing this, I'm actually doing them a disfavor. So that's often what I'm trying to repeat myself is like, you need to do this because you have a purpose. So that's what motivates me.
I was thinking as you were talking, are you familiar since you identify with having ADHD and getting to know more about your brain, do you know what RSD is?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so for those who don't know, RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And so I'm just really curious, because I can relate to this, do you feel like part of that fear of stepping into some of these things is because of that rejection?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Working in a business where you are the face of the business, it puts you out there. And in business, as in every situation, there is rejection. There is no's, multiple no's. Actually, you're more protected of the no's when you're working corporate. And I'm also a people pleaser, and I have very high standards for myself. It's rejection from the others, but also rejections that comes from the inside. I reject myself sometimes, and then I am disappointed, and it feels so hard when I'm disappointed on myself. But yes, oh gosh, honestly, like when I've learned about ADHD and that I had ADHD, I was diagnosed at 35. It was such a life changer because it named some of the things that I was experiencing, and I thought it was just me, and I thought that I'm broken, but it changed the narrative. I'm not broken. My brain is wired differently and I experience the world in a different way. And it doesn't mean that I'm less than. It's just that I have to do things in a different way. And rejection sensitive dysphoria, it's not healing it, but it makes me more aware of it. And when it happens, I'm more compassionate with myself. So I'm not like judging myself too much.
Let's talk about your journey because I am sure that a lot of that played into some of the issues you had with sleep and why you're so passionate about doing this work now. How did you end up doing sleep work? And what did you notice along the way that brought your heart to want to help others?
That's such a good question. And I'm trying to keep the short version, but Basically, as I was saying, my background and my education is in engineering. I was working in IT for 16 years. IT is hard. Many jobs are hard, but there is so much competition, and I burned out multiple times. And with burnout comes sleep problems. And I've suffered for insomnia for many, many years. And in the beginning, it started here and there, and I was pushing through with caffeine and willpower. But at some point, the situation became so bad that it wasn't a matter of like a question of if I will wake up. So my insomnia was, I was able to fall back asleep, but I was waking up in the middle of the night, and it was taking me hours to fall back asleep. And usually it was like just before my alarm was starting. So the question was not if I will wake up during the night, but how long will, at what time and for how long will I be awake? And of course, there were so many mental calculation. How many hours did I sleep? How many hours do I have left? Will I be able to make it the next day? How tired will I be? How is the day? Do I have many meetings? Will it be boring? Will I fall asleep in the meeting? So much rumination, so much stress that happened in my mind during those nights. It took, I knew that I didn't want to go to the doctor to get sleep medication. And I was, I always loved science and personal development and health. So I started reading about it and trying different things and experimenting. I'm really, whenever I'm passionate about something, as this is an ADHD trait, we get obsessed about things. I was talking about it with my friends, with my colleagues. So some of my friends were actually trying the things that I was saying, and they were coming back and they were saying, "Oh, I've tried what you're saying and it's working and I feel so much better." So that feeling gave me, I don't know how to describe it, so rewarding. And moving fast forward, how working in corporate America has its own challenges, like on top of everything else. And I felt like we had a joke, an internal joke in my company is like one year of working in that company equals 7 years in the industry. And other, it was like just an internal joke. It was like really hard. So at some point with my second burnout, I started, it came also with depression. And I was asking like existential questions. I had the money, I had like everything that I've dreamed of, and I achieved, but I was like miserable, physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted. So it's like, what's my purpose in life? What do I work for? And with that depression came a lot of therapy where I discovered that I have ADHD, and I realized that some of my executive skills that were strength were actually not something that I was using in my current job. And some of the executive skills that I needed for my job were actually my weaknesses because of my ADHD. And I realized, no matter how much I try to be a good engineer, I will not be like the greatest. And also, it makes me feel miserable. So I decided to quit my job. No, I started my own business. Like I've decided to take my passion and try to see if I can make it working. And at that time, there was a certification for sleep stress management and recovery launched by Precision Nutrition, which is a very famous company for their nutrition certification. They're very well, like evidence based, very, very good. So I've tried that. I got that certification, and that's how I started to be a sleep coach. Because like I never planned to be coach. It was just start a line. And then from there, once my business started to grow and to have clients, I couldn't keep both my job and my business. So I had to quit my job, and I started doing full time sleep coaching for 2 years now. Yeah.
That's incredible. It's incredible. I want to go back to something you said. You mentioned burnout. And I'm really curious, how does burnout and chronic stress actually disrupt your sleep? Like how did you see it? Like what's going on in the nervous system when that happens that is throwing you out of alignment and causing, causing you to wake up at multiple times, but also the rumination
Yeah.
and all of the stressful thoughts that are going through your brain. I'm curious how that actually is affecting the physical body.
It's interesting because burnout, a lot of people think that burnout is just tired, being extremely tired. But it's not only that. At some point in my career, like I took a short-term disability leave. I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, thinking that will help with my burnout. It did help with my physical energy. But once I turned back and I was in the same environment, like I returned to the original state very fast. So burnout is not only like an energy management imbalance, it's also out of alignment. You're doing things that does not bring joy. It's like killing your soul slowly. So yeah, you recover your physical energy throughout like weekend or vacation, but mentally you're still exhausted and unfulfilled. And regarding sleep and the nervous system, basically when we are in a go 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 from morning until evening, we are always scanning to see, like, to solve problems, to see potential issues, and we are in this state from morning until we go to bed without any break, without take like if we take a break, silence feels uncomfortable, and often we grab our phone or we get distracted. We forgot how it is to be still with our thoughts. So basically our nervous system, it's always on, looking for danger. So the nervous system was okay. So let me take a step back. When it comes to sleep, there are three systems in the body that are involved in sleep regulation. So one is the sleep drive, which is responsible for sleep pressure, that tells us that it's time to sleep, like when you've been awake enough. It's like hunger, and it's a hunger for sleep. Then the other system is circadian rhythm, and it tells us like when should we be awake and when should we be asleep, and it's regulated by the light darkness cycle. And then there is a third system, it's called the hyperarousal system, which overrides the other two. When we like, it's the vigilance system. It always checks for threats. So if you are in danger, think about like the prehistoric human when we were living in cave. If there was a tiger coming to eat you, like it didn't matter if your sleep pressure was high, if your circadian rhythm was saying is like, okay, it's time to rest. You couldn't go to the tiger and say, hey, Mr. Tiger, it's time to sleep, come next morning. No, the hypervigilance, like the vigilance system had to override those system so that to keep us safe and to be able to run from threats. Okay. In the current world, anything can be a threat. The deadlines, the bills, the kids that you have to pick from school. Your nervous system doesn't know that it's a perceived stress or a real stress to your life. So when you go to sleep because your nervous system was on the entire day, it doesn't flip off like in instant. It still keeps you awake. And in order to fall asleep, you need to be in a parasympathetic state, meaning in like rest and digest, calm and relax. When you're in hypervigilance, you're in sympathetic state, and that state is not compatible with sleep. So it's very hard to be enter into sleep in a sleep state. And also some physical processes has to happen, is like your body temperature has to go down, your cortisol levels have to go down. When you're stressed, cortisol is high. If cortisol is high, melatonin is not released because cortisol inhibits melatonin. So there are physiological and psychological mechanisms that are preventing you from sleeping or getting into deep stages of sleep. Some people, they are able to sleep, but with every faint noise they wake up because the nerve, like the brain scans the environment for any sound, for any danger, so it takes you out of the sleep so that you're not in danger. Does it
Yeah.
make sense?
Oh, makes total sense. And that's so interesting because so the hyper arousal system, is that what explains the tired but wired concept?
Yes, your nervous
Interesting.
system did not get the memo that the day is off. It's still, you still think of like the email that you have to send, or what you said in a meeting at 4 p.m., or um, you have to do so many things. So your mind's still running, and you don't even breathe properly. And the other thing is, like, when you're lying in the darkness, even normal problem became catastrophic. So our mind, we are tired. We are not capable of doing good thinking. And the darkness amplify everything that comes into your mind. How many times did you wake up in the middle of the night, had a thought that put you in a panic, and then when you woke up the next day, is like, why did I stress about that? We feel things differently in the middle of the night. So that feeds the loop of anxiety and hyperarousal.
Sometimes I just want to take that little computer chip out of my brain that that causes the worry and the rumination and just be like, can I just put it aside for a little bit? I know, yeah.
Yeah.
You were also saying, as you were talking, I was thinking about some of the work that I do and some of the environments that I used to work in. And I have a question for you.
Hmm.
I used to work in physical therapy full time. I worked with a lot of athletes, would always see kids that would have, these late night games, athletes going to the gym or doing workouts later on. And I know that exercise, even though healthy for the body, is also raising your cortisol levels and raising stress in the body. I'm curious, does that play a factor in the whole sleep hyper arousal concept too? I mean, like, are our kids that are doing late night games at like 8, 9 o'clock at night not actually getting the sleep that they need?
Yes, yes, their sleep is definitely impacted. So what I was thinking, why I'm hesitating, is because exercise is good. And if you have no option in exercising throughout the day, and the only option is to work out at night, a little bit of workout, it's better than nothing, right? Even if your sleep is going to be affected, you can take some measurements to reduce the impact of late workout to your body. But it's not, yes, cortisol does increase. And when we are running, there is adrenaline, there are endorphin, um, but it's also the body temperature. So, as I was saying, the body temperature has to go down in order for us to sleep. When you work out, when you run, like, your body temperature goes up. And that could also impact your sleep as well. So it might take some time for you to cool down, and to miss the window where you should go to bed and to have like an optimal sleep. But another problem that I'm seeing, because circadian rhythm, it impacts us so much, in because different organs are on and off at a specific time of the day. So we cannot have everything running to be on all at once. Like, our body doesn't have capacity to keep that energy. So the central clock tells different organs when to be on and when to be off. And late in the evening, muscles are not in the optimal state for working out. That doesn't mean you cannot work out. You can, but it's not optimal, because at that stage, your body expects to cool down and to transition into sleep. So the organs necessary for this transition, they're starting to be on and the other to be off. So the body is optimized for rest, not for working out. My point is, your performance is not going to be great at that time of the day if you care about it. So your sleep is impacted, your cortisol is going to be high, your body temperature is going to raise, and you're not going to perform better. But with that being said, evening is the only time the entire week when you can exercise. Sometimes, like, you have to see where you do the compromise, and it's a decision than just doing things randomly. Does
Yeah.
this answer your question?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I'm glad you just clarified that because I know that like I know that we need to calm the body down, get more into parasympathetic spaces, to be in the deeper sleep cycles that we want to be in. But also, like I said, the work that I used to do full time, I would see the complete opposite. And I was just curious what your take was on that. And it makes complete sense.
Yeah, and sleep, it's becoming more and more, it gets more and more attention, especially in the performance athletes. And there is like an entire science for sleep and performance because they recognize the impact of sleep in performance. And I just watched the Winter Olympic Games, and the difference between silver and gold was like fractions of seconds, hundreds of seconds, like a 0.01, let's say. When this every tiny reflex matter, you have to optimize things. So yeah, things are very interesting in the sleep science world when it comes to sleep to sports performance.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious. Yeah, I want to go back to something you just talked about. You talked about these organs that turn on, that shut off, the cycle, the natural cycle. Is there anything there that we need to be aware of in regards to helping us get into that sleep cycle and to also have a smooth night in regards to these organs that are playing a factor?
Yeah, that's the timing of eating. Meal timing, it's very important. And circadian, so our circadian rhythm is not 20, exactly 24 hours, 25, 24 hours. So the name circadian, it's like circa in Latin means approximately, diem, it's day. So approximately 24 hours. We need the light or like some signals from outside called Zeitgebers to reset our circadian rhythm to be aligned again with what's day and night. And we can do that. Light is the most potent Zeitgeber. Like light is the signal that helps us reset our circadian rhythm. But temperature is another one. But meal timing is very important. And if you are traveling and if you're having jet lag, one of the aspects that you should take care of is like eating at the same time as with the time in the current zone you are. So to help shifting your circadian rhythm to the current zone. So basically what happens at night, the entire digestive system is the kitchen, it's closed basically. So before sleep, it is being prepared for repair. So during sleep, a lot of tissue repair happens and the digestive system is being repaired. If you eat in the evening, the food is not going to rot in your stomach. Your stomach is going to start digesting the food, but it's not optimal for digesting that food. So it takes some times until all the juices are being produced, liver as well, pancreas as well. Like you need so many things to be involved in the digestive. And none of those organs are prepared for food incoming. So it takes more time. Motility, which is movement of the food into your intestines, it's reduced. So the food stays longer into your intestines. So basically, if you're eating at a time like too late in the evening, you might have problems with digestion, is not going to be optimal, but also the core body temperature will increase because the blood flow will be redirected from the extremities to your digestive system so that it absorbs and does all the stuff. And that means like your core body temperature will increase, and the core body temperature is responsible for like it matters to go down to enter sleep. Um, so that might prevent you from entering deep stages of sleep.
Yeah. But on average, how I've always read like maybe like 2 to 3 hours before you actually fall down to sleep. Do you have a different recommendation or does that seem about right?
It seems right. And again, we haven't talked about chronotypes, but chronotypes are what you might know as night owl or early bird. I like that you said like how much time before going to sleep, and not like 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. or like 4 p.m. or 9 p.m., right? Because that's often the conversation that I'm having. It's reported to the time going to sleep, and for some people who are sleeping late, like 2 a.m., because that's their natural rhythm, eating at 10 p.m. makes sense. But yeah, around 3 hours. And I have to say that if you have diabetes or insulin problems, a light snack would be beneficial. So again, be mindful of the trades off that you are making, because sometimes if you're trying to listen to an advice to make something good, you're breaking something else. So understand the mechanism, understand the trade-off, and then take an informed decision. So yeah, if insulin it's a problem and you need to have like a light snack with some carbs, but what's the word of not starchy carbs, like the ones that are not complex carbs,
Yes, yeah.
okay, with some fat and some that will be digested and absorbed slower. So no, not processed sugar. That will spike your blood sugar. So having a snack before bed will, for some people, might prevent waking up in the middle of the night. Some people wake up in the middle of the night because of blood sugar drops and insulin goes up.
Yeah, that's how I am. I have to, I can't push it to 3 hours because then I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm so hungry. Irene, I'm hungry all the time. But if I don't have something, just a little something, it really wrecks with my blood sugar.
Yeah. Well, in that case, don't just have like a big meal. I guess that will make the difference, but a light snack will be beneficial for you if you know that what helps. So I always like to teach people the mechanism behind it, to enable them to take decision for themselves. Because if I tell them like black and white rules, then they will not be able to take this kind of decision on their own.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay, so let's talk about that whole concept, the concept of pushing harder. You know, you have maybe some insomnia, or maybe you have trouble just falling asleep at night. And I know that this, I mean, I've been guilty with this myself. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to sleep earlier. And then I get there and I'm like, I have a goal in place. And I get there and it's like, there is no way sleep is coming to me. And I feel like it's this pressure. So let's talk about that. Explain why pushing actually can make it harder, and what do we do instead?
This is such a hard one because many of my clients, they're A-type, because they're so used to have a goal, to fight for the goal. But the bad news is that sleep does not reward effort. Sleep is a passive state that happens when the right conditions are in order. And the more you try, the harder it is to sleep, because your nervous system, back to the nervous system, sees sleep effort as a threat. And that makes you be more alert. So one of the solution is just to allow, to accept the situation, even if it doesn't feel right. So even if it feels uncomfortable, just accepting the situation tells your nervous system that you're safe. And it's that concept of being safe that is the key. And it doesn't have to, you like it or not. It's just making peace with it. So in many situations, a lot of people, like I present tools and they were telling me, so is it okay if I listen a meditation? Will that help me sleep? Or is it okay if I listen a podcast? And my question is like, how are you executing that thing? What's your intention behind it? Do you want to listen an audiobook or a podcast because it makes you feel good and you enjoy it and just allows you to be? Or do you do that because you want it to distract you so that it makes you to fall asleep? And this is the nuance, the nuance, the difference. It's the effort behind it, the intention behind it. Because if you're doing anything that I tell you with the intention of, I need to do this, I need to do the breathing so that it calms my nervous system so I can sleep. You see, already I'm hyped, you know? But if I'm like, okay, I just need to breathe and I'm safe in this moment without thinking of like, oh, I need to sleep, or if I have this many hours of sleep to sleep until I wake up. It is one of the hardest things to accomplish, just to allow and to let go, especially for the people who are used to being control and to direct everything and to put effort into achieving things. So it's you can achieve that with work, but it's hard work and contra-intuitive. And I like to say that sleep is like a cat, you know. If you're trying to go to it, it will run away. And as soon as you let go and you ignore the cat will come to you when she wants to. So sleep is exactly the same. It will come to you when you will feel relaxed, when the conditions are right.
That is true with the cat as well. Very true. And so yeah, so I have to share this because I feel like exactly what you said. And again, I was just doing this intuitively. I feel like exactly what you said is exactly what helped me. And so I will lay there when I can feel myself amped up. I will lay there and I will, number one, give myself permission to actually go to sleep. Just be like, okay, I don't have to stay awake. I'm allowed. I don't have to sit here and think about this.
Exactly.
Just give myself permission, number one. Number two, just laying there with my eyes closed, taking some deep breaths. And I literally try to look at my brain like that space when I have my eyes closed, that space in my brain. I literally try to look at it as like a blank slate, like there is nothing there. And I just focus on that. And I will tell you, Irina, the more that I practice that, the more that I fall asleep like that. It's
Yeah.
wild. It's wild. But I feel like sometimes just giving yourself permission to not ruminate on something really does a trick for you.
Yeah. And there are multiple tools that help you help with that. And that's where acceptance and commitment therapy comes in handy with some tools. Cognitive diffusion is one of my favorite ones because it puts some space between you and your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. And when thoughts are coming, observing them and naming them, for example, or saying is like, oh, I'm having the thought that tomorrow is going to be hard. So that makes some space between you and your thoughts and allows to to relax and to not um, act on your emotions. An act can be like thinking. So cognitive diffusion is one tool. Another one that I like is you're rewriting the plot of your favorite book, or you're doing a walk every day with your dog, and you're very familiar with that. You can imagine each step, like you put the collar on the dog, you put the leash on, you open the door, you unlock the door, you take the first step, you look right, you look right. So this takes you out of like that cognitive loop, and it moves your attention, distracts you from what you're having, and it gives focus to a mind to something else. And that's why counting sheep doesn't work, because it's not stimulating enough. But it has to be pleasant, and it doesn't have to, you should not think of like situation or emotion that distress you or make you too excited. We want to get into that deep relaxation state and not forget, but like get distracted from our own thoughts.
Yeah. I know too. It also helps with thinking about that along those lines. I know too, it also really helps me when I lay there and I start to do visualization and
Mhm.
visualization towards something that makes me feel peaceful or makes me feel happy and excited.
Exactly. So you intuitively know what works for you and how it makes you feel more relaxed. And just you said something also that a lot of people don't realize, that resting is actually not bad. If you're laying in bed resting, even if you're not sleeping, it's better than being awake and doing stuff, because when you're laying in bed, your heart rate is down, your cortisol level stays down. So it's not nothing. And just telling yourself and reminding yourself, it's okay just to lay in bed and relax. It's better than nothing. So that's another way of reframing the situation instead of worrying.
Let's expand on this more. Let's talk about that concept of CBT-I. Now, when I heard it the first time and you talked about it being the gold standard, it sounded very clinical, it sounded very rigid. And so I would love to know just more about this. What is CBT-I really? And what makes it so effective for chronic insomnia when people are really struggling? Because honestly, Irina, I think that we're going to talk about, I think that this is really a key missing factor that so many people don't even think about addressing in the first place to help with their insomnia. So go on.
Yes. And CBTI comes from cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia and is the gold standard for insomnia treatment because where should I start? First of all, it's evidence-based. Like it's been trialed. There are so many studies that showed the benefits. And it stands off like three or four type of therapies that can be monotherapies or combined. Meaning there is the sleep restriction, which everybody is on agreement that it's such a bad term. Sleep restriction should be named time in bed restriction. And it works because a lot of people with insomnia, they lay in bed trying to increase the time they can be asleep. And they're trying to not optimize, but to, what's the word? Uh, increases the chances of being asleep. So the more I'm in bed, the more chances are to fall asleep. But actually, we discussed about the three system for sleep. A sleep drive and the sleep pressure actually increases as we are awake and as we are active. Because, yeah, I'm not going to go into details. So, the more you're active, the more sleep pressure you have. So, people with insomnia tend to lay in bed a lot. So, they're less active, tend to cancel appointments and social interaction. They tend to skip work because they don't feel rested and they're afraid. So that makes things worse. And by reducing the time in bed, restricting the time in bed, forcing that person to be more awake, so you're increasing the sleep pressure. And in short term, you are going to feel worse before you feel better. And sometimes that is enough for people to regain their sleep, like increasing sleep pressure. And it's like you start, it has like a structure, a formula, how you do it. So this can be done as a monotherapy, like on its own. The other is sleep hygiene. It's one of the therapies, but many people like to say that sleep hygiene is used as control in sleep studies when CBTI is involved. So yeah, it's not the most efficient one. Cognitive restructuring is another one, and I think that's the part that works with your mind and thoughts. So many people have catastrophizing thoughts. I'm going to die. I'm never going to be able to sleep. I'm going to lose my job. So, as a part of the cognitive restructuring, yeah, you're to address the thoughts, and you're going to look: is there any evidence for your thoughts? There are some tools and practices that are helping you to see actually that what you're thinking is not actually true. So, and here's the difference between acceptance and commitment therapy and cognitive behavior therapy, because the cognitive behavior therapy tries to replace the thoughts and change your thoughts, while acceptance and commitment therapy, it's not questioning your thoughts. The thoughts may be valid, but it helps you to distance yourself from the thoughts so that you can live a life that is you enjoy and it's based on your value, even if things are hard. So that's the nuances, and that's like the third wave therapy that it's coming in sleep as well, because There are people for which cognitive behavior therapy for insomnia does not work because of its rigidity and because of the time limit restriction is pretty hard. That's where like a lot of people fail, and many people is like are feeling like they're being told what to say, so they're opposing to it, and that's where CBT-I fails, and that's when acceptance and commitment therapy fills that gap. And I'm not saying that acceptance and commitment therapy should be used on its own. I think a combination between CBT-I and ACT is the sweet point. Depends on the person in front of who is being treated.
Yeah, and doesn't that feel like that's just the way most stuff is? It's really customized. I would say, especially when it comes to this kind of conversation, because when it comes to sleep, I mean, there's so many things. It could be hormonal, it could be diet, it could be your sleep hygiene, it could be your shadow work and all of the mental and the emotional balance that you
Yeah.
need, right? Like there's so much stuff.
Yeah. And taking melatonin and supplements when actually your sleep problems are caused by your nervous system is not going to fix your sleep. So you're basically trying to patch something. You're treating the symptoms, you're not treating the root cause.
Yeah. Cool. And so let's just call that out for anybody, any woman who is going through menopause and perimenopause too. Because yes, you got the hormonal stuff, but you also have all of the mental and the emotional things that are coming up too. And yet, so many, and I say this because of the functional nutritional work that I have done. So many people come to you and say, but I've tried melatonin, I've tried rhodiola, I've tried ashwagandha, like all of these supplements and herbs, and nothing's working, right? And so let's speak on that. I mean, if this stuff isn't working, now what? You tried the magnesium, the tea, the herbs, now what?
And let me say something about melatonin. Melatonin is a chronobiotic, meaning it helps you to shift your sleep in the day. It doesn't help you sleep. So people take melatonin as a sleep aid, like to make them sleep, it's like medication for sleep, but it's not that. It's just you can use it for jet lag when your sleep is out of sync with the day and night. You can take it for people who are having like delayed sleep phase, meaning like, or like very delayed sleep phase, so that they shift their sleep earlier or later. And you take it strategically, and dose matter and timing matter. This is something that a lot of people don't understand, because there is a phase response to melatonin, the same as there is a phase response to light, meaning taking melatonin at specific time, your body would react in a different way. So if you take it in the window where there is no response to melatonin, you take it for nothing. And if you're taking at the wrong time, it can have the opposite effect. It can, if you want to delay it, it might advance it, or the other way around. So I wouldn't recommend taking melatonin, especially over the counter, without knowing why you're taking, because it's not a sleep aid, it's a chronobiotic. So with that.
Let me ask you something on that real quick before you go on, because I'm curious. I've read before concepts around taking too much melatonin too consistently can actually decrease your body's ability to create melatonin. Is that true?
Actually, to be honest, I don't know how to answer that question, because I've
Yeah.
heard different answers. Melatonin, it's not too, we don't know too many things about melatonin. And a recent study showed that melatonin is not only in our brain, it's in the whole body. And melatonin is not only a hormone, it's an antioxidant as well. And it is found in the mitochondria, and it has a very antioxidative role. So there are studies looking at treating cancer with melatonin. So it's like the new vitamin C. And from what I know, there is no lethal dose for melatonin, meaning like the dose where you can die. So there is not known one. Though there are studies showing, like, especially, I think there is a study where they were talking about kids, some death of kids that took over the counter melatonin. The problem with over the counter melatonin, it's different than what the melatonin that it's prescribed, because The over-the-counter melatonin, first of all, is not regulated by the FDA, so you don't know what is on the label, if it is exactly the same thing what you are getting in the capsules. And the second thing, there is no pure melatonin. There is combined with other substances like CBT or rhodiola or like lavender or whatever. I'm just saying. And we don't know the lethal dose for those substances. So if there was an impact and if there were deaths because of melatonin in kids, it doesn't mean it was melatonin itself. We don't know exactly what caused death or those kids. And there are some studies where they treated with melatonin neonatal infants immediately after they got birth. They treated melatonin, and the ones that were treated with melatonin, they survived, and the ones without, they died. That's a path for new research to look into melatonin studies. There is a scope of melatonin in different aspects than circadian regulator.
Yeah, oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
I can send you a video that a very interesting video that I've one of the professor that I work with, they created recently, and he's very into melatonin.
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's okay, I can link that down in the show
Yeah,
notes too. Yeah, that'd be
definitely.
awesome.
And he
Yeah.
also talks about the blue light and the impact of blue light on sleep and debunking some of the myths.
Oh, okay. All right, let's talk about that stuff because I just want to talk. I want to talk a little bit about some of this sleep hygiene. First of all, I'm curious. I'm curious what your definition of sleep hygiene is. Number one, and number two, what have you found, Irina, as some of the things that work and some things that don't really work, but we think that they do.
Okay, so sleep hygiene. The sleep hygiene by the book, it offers recommendation on alcohol consumption, caffeine cutoff time, like some basic things. So sleep hygiene is actually from 50 or 60. But the problem is like nowadays, there's so many things that fall under the umbrella of sleep hygiene. Basically, everything that we do at night, it's considered sleep hygiene. So now depends on like, let's look at the sleep hygiene term from the like our current world. Light, when it comes to light, there it started to be debunked, the blue light. And because I'm in this group of Professor Michael Gradnisser, he did some studies on the blue light in 2017, I think it was his first study that was showing that basically it's not impacting us as we thought it did. And looking at the studies that stated that blue light is impacting us, there was a key component, and that was photostasis, meaning the adaptation to darkness. So basically, in that study, what they did, they brought in the lab people, but before they put them in front of the screens, they put them in a dark room to get adapted to darkness, and then they start testing them, which in our natural life, in our day-to-day life, that not happens. Even last time when we talked, he was a menace. He doesn't do that. That's why, like, I didn't prepare for it. I'm sorry about that. So what happens is that it matters so much of your light exposure throughout the day. If you've been outside, like let's say you've been outside at the beach and you've been in bright natural light, the light in the evening, if you're exposed to light, you're going to be less affected by it. Versus if you've been indoor in very dim light, and then you get exposed to the light, your melatonin is going to be delayed. So it matters what light you been exposed throughout the day. The brain has a way of counting, if we can say like that, the photons throughout the days. And when it reaches a specific point, it knows that night is coming. So basically, if you get exposed to 1.5 hours before if you've been in a darkness throughout the day, darkness meaning like even my room is pretty dark comparing with the light outside. And if you've kept that phone or tablet like very close to your face, like 30 centimeters or like, I don't know how much is 30 centimeters. 1 feet? No. Yeah. From your face, there is like a 15 minutes, I think, delay in your melatonin, so it's not much. Um, so basically, it's not as we thought it is, but it's more what are we watching on the screen? Is it like often we lose track of time and we scroll past our bedtime, so we are sleep deprived because we are delaying bedtime. And how many times did you feel like I'm not sleepy, I can watch another episode? You turn off the TV and then actually I was sleeping. So you don't perceive the sleepiness because you're too captured by what you're doing on the phone. So it's not necessary the melatonin delay that it's keeping you awake. And with that being said, blue light blocking glasses might be a scam. So I'm not recommending them anymore. And that's the thing with science. Like, I was a big fan of that until I've learned about this. Science changes, new discoveries are made. And yeah, we have to admit when we were wrong and change our advice. So even with that, even if the blue light does not affect your sleep, like delay your sleep, I would recommend not using the phone or the devices at least 1 hour before bed because of the stimulating effect it has on you. As I was saying, body temperature, core body temperature, it has an impact on sleep. So having a hot shower in the evening helps with that because basically it redirects the blood to the extremities. So the core body temperature goes down even if you feel hot. Uh, so that's another thing that I like to recommend. Dimming the lights in the evening would help as well. And actually, what you do throughout the day matter as much as what you do in the evening. Many people, and that's the program. That's the whole premises of my program that I'm just launching. Is so many advices and so many programs focus on the night time, but they miss such a big gap and so many opportunities to do behavior change that helps sleep throughout the day. And the first and the most impactful one is getting light exposure in the morning in the first 30 minutes when you wake up. Bright light exposure. So that's another anchor for your circadian rhythm. And then getting light throughout the day, having micro breaks throughout the day to regulate your nervous system so it doesn't, like, that tension doesn't build up and you're so hyped at night, you know? So giving cues to the body that it's time to sleep. Repetition creates a sense of safeness because it's predictable and our body and our nervous system knows to anticipate things, and that makes us feel safe. So having not necessarily a routine, like when I'm saying having a routine, don't think about like 100 steps or 10 steps of doing that. Even like brushing the teeth and turning the lights, dimming the lights. And I had a client that she was telling me when she was taking a shower every evening, and her daughters at some point is like, "Oh, you're going to bed," and she was like, "How do you know I'm going to bed?" Because every time when you take a shower, you then go to bed. So it was a routine for her, and her brain and her body knew that sleep is going to come after that. So creating a routine that works for you, giving cues, like even having a tea or I don't know, journaling or something like that, that would help a lot.
I'm curious, what's your routine that you like to do?
It is so hard because of my ADHD tendency, but I have a dog. And that dog is a creature of habit. So I'm the night shift. My husband is the morning shift because he wakes up at 5, go to bed later. So I take the dog out for the potty break. I give him food and treats and kisses, and I go to bed. So that's my cue. And I do it because because I have to, but it feels so good. It's so hard for me to keep a routine, but this forces me and it feels so good.
Oh, I love that. I love that. You actually said a word that I'm really curious about because I feel like this comes up all the time. You said the word night shift. Now, I know you meant it in a different way, but I'm curious, what about people who do work night shift or who are in third shift and they end up having to be awake at night? What is your recommend, like, does anything shift there really, or is it just literally reorganizing? Because I know that the circadian rhythm is going to be off, so I'm just curious your thoughts there.
This is such a hard topic. First of all, this comes into the circadian rhythm disorder, which is mostly under the sleep medicine treatment because it's considered a disorder. But it is so hard because most of the shift workers, they don't have a consistent shift. They have shift that rotates and they don't have control. Most of them, they don't have control of their shift. So it's so hard to shift their circadian rhythm. By the time they shift it, their shift their shift is changed. And that's where you see the impact of an imbalanced circadian rhythm because they are more predisposed to cancers and to chronic diseases. Um, for them, melatonin and light therapy that helps the most. Getting light at specific time to shift, to delay, or to advance their sleep phase, and using melatonin strategically as well. If I'm having an accident or something in the middle of the night, I'm very grateful that there is a firefighter or like a doctor that can take care of me. So I'm very grateful for their work. But it's such a hard situation.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was just curious what your advice or tips were there. So, as we kind of wrap this up, I'm curious if the listener is here and they're saying that they really want to make some impactful steps going forward. Do you have a simple starter plan, for lack of better words, like a little starter plan that you would recommend for somebody to help them just get the momentum moving so they don't feel so overwhelmed?
Yeah, I would start with one thing and build from that. And that's having a consistent wake up time every single day, including weekends. And it's hard, but it's one of the things that you can control. You cannot control when you fall asleep, but you can control when you wake up. And you start by that. And in the beginning, it's hard because then you'll be sleep deprived. You will not be able to sleep on time, and you'll have like a shorter time window. But with time, consistency is as important as quality, even more important. Because when you create consistency, even if you have less sleep, let's say, because your body anticipates that time window of sleep, it knows how to prepare better. And even if it is shorter, it could optimize it. You can get in deeper stages of sleep and you can hit more stages of sleep, excuse me, um, because it knows what to expect. So start with consistency, waking up every single day at the same time. I know it's hard. Um, Other than that, another easy point is bright light in the morning. And if you we in the US, we've changed daylights. We had daylight saving this weekend. In Europe, I think it's the last weekend in March, so they haven't done it yet. So our mornings are darker now, and that pisses me off because it's like so many people are happy. Yes, we have more light in the evening, but we need more light in the morning. So if you don't have light where you are, if it's raining or something, you can use a bright light or a satellite box. It's used for this affective disorder.
Oh, seasonal affect. Yeah, seasonal
Seasonal
affect.
affective
Yeah.
disorder. Or you can get some light glasses. This is one type. This is called IO. And you can put it, so you see it has like a light over there. So I keep them in the morning while I'm drinking my coffee, while I'm like doing some things. And I get my bright light while With the sad lamp, you have to be in front of it, so you're kind of like tied to the place where you have it. And but that's great because it's like $30-$50 you can find on Amazon, and they're cheap. These are like 200 300, between 200 and 300, but you can wear them, like you can have them with you if you're traveling and if you have jet lag, and you can use it in the morning. So bright light in the morning, and if you can at noon as well, that would be great. So light exposure during the day.
It's so interesting because I find more and more health experts are talking about the importance now of having light and even nature exposure, but especially light first thing in the morning. Like, what would you say within like the first 30 minutes to an hour or so?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because as I was saying, our circadian rhythm is not exactly 24 hours, and we need anchors to resync it. And the morning one is very important because it starts a timer for melatonin to be released like 16 hours later. So having bright light exposure inhibits any melatonin that might have been in your body. It also helps a little bit with like the energy and to reducing the grogginess, and it helps with your circadian rhythm. So yes, get bright light exposure in the morning.
Interesting. Well, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for just going into so much depth here. Honestly, I love that your tips debunked certain things that get thrown around all the time, but then also talked about things that I don't think a lot of people really take into effect. So thank you so much. Before we talk about where people can find you and to get into your world and into the program that as of recording today, you just launched it today, yeah?
Yes,
Yes, exciting.
my new program called From Stress to Sleep, and it's basically addressing exactly what we were discussing, because many high professionals, they're in go mode, and they're always like in this hypervigilance state because there's like meetings and problems and always, and by the time they close the work and go to bed, their nervous system didn't catch up, so they're wired and tired. So I've created a framework that helps them. It's a 3-week program, so each week we are focusing on one pillar of the framework. The framework is regulate, transition, and release. So addresses different parts of the day and shows you it gives you the tools to implement to release some of that, to regulate some of that nervous system throughout the day so that you don't carry it with you at night, to create a transition that it's workable for you and for your lifestyle and for yourself. And the release is like allowing and letting go in bed when things are popping up. So it
Yeah,
covers
awesome.
everything, and you have time, like each week you have time to practice what we are learning. Yeah, starts today, which is like March 9th. And
Yeah.
we act like card open today, and we actually start on April 1st.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Well, in a moment, we're going to talk about where to find all of these links and to learn more information. But before we do, let's do a few rapid fires because I like to get real and I want to know the things you do in regards to or some of the places maybe you struggle in regards to this conversation today. So, are you ready, Irina?
Yes.
Yeah.
Before we do that, like do what I say, not what I do.
Oh, I think it's going to be amazing. I think you're going to be great. All right. All right. So, first question. What is your biggest personal green flag that tells you that you're regulating well these days, that you know works well for you?
I guess I'm able to sleep throughout the night. My
Yes.
nervous system is so sensitive that even like some exciting news can tip me off. So I constantly have to practice all these tools, and whenever I'm slacking, I still wake up in the middle of the night. Like it's the thing with sleep. It's like weight loss. Once you achieved it, you have to do the work to maintain it. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Number two, what is one sleep rule that you would love to throw out in the trash forever? Like you're so tired of hearing about it.
Everybody should go to bed at the same time, like 10 p.m.
That is a good one. Yes,
I, don't start me with that.
it's a good
Heard
one.
it recently. Yeah. You go at the time that is in sync with your circadian rhythm and with your chronotype.
You know, so since you just said that, can I ask just like a little follow-up question with that? How do you know or how do you discover what your chronotype is or what your ideal time for bed is?
So when there is a questionnaire, it's called the Evening Morningness Questionnaire, and you can find it online and it's free. And that's also used in clinical practice by some medical providers. But a lot of people, they know, for example, if you go on vacation and you don't have a schedule and you're not forced and you're not in front of your screen the whole time, when do you go to bed? And when do you sleep? What's your sleep schedule in vacation? That's considering that you're not like late night partying and drinking and stuff like that. So we many people know that tendency, but many people get surprised thinking they're a night owl after they do the questionnaires and like when I start asking questions, they realize, oh, I'm not a night owl. I'm like a mid morning or stuff like that. So our lifestyle shifts our circadian rhythm, but our biology, so our chronotype is dictated by gene. There are some genes where they're telling when to sleep, like in the day, when is the sleep window, when should be awake and when should be asleep. So
I
that's
love that.
yeah. And to shift your circadian rhythm, because they're like the delayed sleep phase, this is like a sleep disorder where your sleep time it's very late. It can be like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and for extreme ones can be 4 or 5 a.m. And for those people, I'm so sorry for them, but they have to constantly use light exposure and melatonin. And the thing is, like, as soon as they stop, their sleep goes back to their natural tendency. And I like to compare that with like driving a car. Like you steer the wheel, and the car goes where you want. And as soon as you take your hands from the wheel goes back to the set point. So it's the chronotype is your sleep set point, and it's dictated by some genes.
That's so interesting. And I think I'm going to find that link and link that down in the show notes as well because for that questionnaire because I think that that'll be really helpful for a lot of people.
I can give it to you.
Yeah. Okay, that'd be great. Thank you. All right, final question. If your nervous system could leave a little sticky note of advice on your pillow at night, what would it say to you, Irina?
You're safe.
Oh, I love that.
That's such a hard one. That's such a hard one. And I've been working on that for. So the thing is, safety and calm is a state. It's not like a word. And you have to train your nervous system to feel it. And you cannot talk yourself into safeness. You have to constantly do things that tells directly your nervous system, not like your prefrontal cortex, like the amygdala, that you're safe. And the best way to feel safe is to be in the present moment. And that's where mindfulness plays such a huge role. And mindfulness is not only mindfulness meditation, mindfulness is being aware of what's happening and paying attention to what's happening in your body and around you without questioning and without judging. And being present, being in the present moment, it's how we tell our nervous system that we are safe. But it's good, like the post-it on my pillow would be a reminder that I'm safe and to practice the tools that create safetiness in my nervous system.
I love that. Irina, where can people find you? Where can they get into your world? And I am assuming that one of the big things you have is what you're launching out today, the program, but is there anything else that you're excited about in your work right now?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is on my website, and that's where they will find like what's new, my programs, if I'm launching anything. But something that is constant is going to be my one-on-one, because I truly believe that this kind of work, it has to be personalized, and there is value in doing group coaching as well. For many people, a personalized approach is it's very helpful. irinamacare.com. It's my website. And you can also find me on Instagram and on LinkedIn. And I'll give you the links. But basically, it's Irina_Macare on LinkedIn. And I don't, on Instagram, and I don't remember exactly on LinkedIn.
That's right. I'll put those links down in the show notes to
Yes.
make it easier for everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Well, do you have any last words that you would like to lay on the hearts of the listeners for today?
Yeah. You don't have to deserve rest. You don't have to earn rest. It's something that you you are entitled to. You don't have to work for rest. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Irina, for being here. Thank you for sharing your love, your heart, your wisdom, your knowledge. Thank you for sharing your passion. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me and for allowing me to speak about everything. I loved our conversation today. Thank you.